Welcome to Silent Queen's Reckoning. I'm so glad you could join us today. Now let's dive right into the story.
Chapter 1. The first slap silenced the string quartet. The second slap made every phone in the ballroom rise. Lena Hart stood beneath the crystal chandeliers of her own engagement party with one cheek burning, one hand resting against the champagne table, and 200 guests staring as if they had just watched a bride become a headline. Across from her, Veronica Vale lowered her hand slowly. She was beautiful in the way expensive knives were beautiful. Sleek black dress, red mouth, diamond earrings that caught the light when she tilted her chin. She looked not ashamed, not frightened, but satisfied. "That is for pretending you do not know who I am," Veronica said. The room inhaled. Lena's fiancé, Adrian Cross, moved at last. Not toward Lena. Toward Veronica. He caught the other woman's wrist with a tenderness that made Lena's stomach turn colder than her cheek was hot. "Veronica," he said, low and warning. "Enough. Enough. Not stop. Not how dare you." Enough, as if Veronica had simply taken a scene too far. Lena looked at him then, really looked. Adrian wore the navy tuxedo she had chosen, the watch she had given him, and the expression of a man calculating which woman would cost him less in public. The engagement ring on Lena's finger felt suddenly ridiculous. Heavy. Bright. Borrowed from a story that had ended before she arrived at the ballroom. Her future mother-in-law, Celeste Cross, stepped forward with a smile polished thin enough to cut skin. "Everyone, please. This is a private misunderstanding." Private. Lena almost laughed. Nothing became private after 2 slaps under chandeliers and 50 recording phones. Veronica's eyes flashed. "Private? He promised me he would end this tonight." Someone gasped near the dessert table. Adrian's face hardened. "Do not." But Veronica had already tasted blood. She turned toward Lena and looked her up and down with contempt, so practiced it almost looked elegant. "You think a ring makes you important? He was with me last night. He told me this engagement was for business." The room went very still. Lena felt the heat in her cheek spread to her ear. Her eyes did not water. That surprised her. She had always imagined humiliation would arrive wet and loud. Instead, it arrived clean. Like a blade sliding into place. 30 minutes earlier, she had stood in the bridal suite while Adrian kissed her forehead and told her she looked perfect. His hands had been gentle on her shoulders. He had smelled of cedar, champagne, and another woman's perfume. She had known then. Not all of it. Enough. She had still walked into the ballroom because she wanted Adrian to make his choice in front of witnesses. He had. Lena straightened slowly, her cheek stung with every movement. The guests watched, hungry and horrified. Veronica waited for tears. Celeste waited for obedience. Adrian waited for Lena to save him because that was what Lena had done for 2 years. She had translated his lateness into ambition. His coldness into stress. His missing money into startup pressure. His mother's cruelty into old-fashioned nerves. She had been so busy explaining him that she had almost forgotten to listen to herself. Now she did. Her voice was calm when she spoke. "Adrian." He turned to her quickly, relieved by the sound of his name. "Lena, I can explain." "No." The word was soft. It stopped him anyway. "You can do that later, with counsel." His eyes narrowed. "What?" Lena removed the engagement ring. It slid over her knuckle with a small resistance, as if even the metal knew a performance was ending. She placed it on the champagne table beside a tower of untouched glasses. "This engagement is over." Veronica smiled. For 8 seconds. Then Lena turned to the event manager at the side door. "Mr. Lowell, please close the exits for media control. No one deletes footage. Security will escort Miss Vale to the private lounge, not outside." Veronica blinked. "Excuse me?" Lena looked at her. "You wanted attention. You will have a full audience in 30 minutes. Adrian stepped closer. "Lena, stop being dramatic." There it was. The old leash. She looked at him until his mouth closed. The gala screen is connected to the main server, correct? She asked the event manager. Mr. Lowell nodded, pale but professional. Yes, Miss Hart. Good, then we will use it. Celeste grabbed Adrian's arm. What is she talking about? Lena did not answer. She walked through the room with a red mark across her cheek and every camera following her like a flock of bright insects. Behind her, Veronica's smile faded completely. 30 minutes later, she would beg. But not for forgiveness. For silence. Chapter 2. Lena Hart was not the richest woman in the ballroom. That was what everyone thought. It was also what Adrian had counted on. To most guests, Lena was the quiet daughter of a dead architect and a former art teacher, a woman who ran a modest urban renewal charity and owned one tasteful apartment near the river. She wore simple jewelry. She drove herself. She said thank you to waiters by name. She seemed fortunate, but not dangerous. That was the mistake. Lena's father had not merely been an architect. He had been the founder of Hartwell Urban Trust, a private land and development fund that quietly owned blocks of historic property across the city. He had built the structure carefully, away from society gossip, because he believed visible wealth attracted both taxes and sons-in-law with clean shoes. When he died, Lena inherited voting control through a trust that did not put her name on signs. She became chair at 28. She learned quickly that quiet money was safer than loud money, and quiet women heard more than praised women. Adrian Cross heard only the first part. He believed she was useful because her charity had connections, her name had old respect, and her father's estate might someday become accessible if he married patiently enough. He did not know that the buildings his family desperately wanted to acquire for their luxury hotel project were controlled by Lena's trust. He also did not know she had discovered his plan 3 weeks before the engagement party. It began with a wrong email. Adrian's assistant sent Lena a draft investor deck meant for Celeste. The subject line read, Revised Post-Engagement Acquisition Strategy. Lena opened it, expecting seating charts or hotel blocks. Instead, she found herself reduced to a transaction. Slide 12 showed a map of the East Market District, the exact area Hartwell Urban Trust protected through long-term community leases. Adrian's family company, Cross Meridian Group, wanted to demolish half of it for a luxury hotel, spa, and private residences. Slide 13 read, Marriage alignment creates pathway to Hartwell influence. Slide 14 listed Lena's nonprofit as a reputation bridge. Slide 15 named Veronica Vale as external pressure contingency. Lena sat at her desk for a long time after reading that phrase. External pressure contingency. Not mistress. Not affair. Contingency. Men like Adrian loved turning betrayal into business language. It made cruelty look clean on slides. She did not confront him. Instead, she called Maya Singh. Maya was Lena's attorney, best friend, and the only woman Lena knew who could make a silence sound like a legal threat. Maya read the deck, then said, He put his affair in a presentation? Apparently. Ambitious and stupid, my favorite combination. The investigation took 11 days. What they found was worse than an affair. Adrian had been meeting Veronica for over a year. She was not merely his lover. She was a public relations consultant hired under a shell contract through Cross Meridian. Her job was to create leverage if Lena refused to support the East Market project after marriage. The plan included staged leaks about Lena's charity finances, rumors that her father had mismanaged trust property, and a possible confrontation at a public event to make Lena appear unstable. The confrontation had arrived early. Veronica had slapped her because Veronica thought the script began there. She did not know Lena had read the script first. On the afternoon of the engagement party, Maya came to the bridal suite carrying a garment bag and a tablet. You can cancel, Maya said. Lena looked at herself in the mirror. Cream silk dress, low pearl earrings, hair pinned at the nape of her neck. She looked like a woman about to enter a future. If I cancel, they control the story. If you go in, they may hurt you. They already did. Maya watched her in the mirror. Then we document. Lena nodded. The ballroom was wired for speeches, video tributes, and a slideshow Adrian's mother had insisted on producing. Maya had quietly replaced the final file with another presentation, locked behind a password. Lena would enter only if the night went exactly wrong. It did. The slaps were not part of Lena's hope. But they were part of the evidence now. Chapter 3. Veronica Vale had spent her life studying rooms she wanted to own. She came from almost nothing and treated that fact as both wound and license. At 20, she learned that beauty opened doors. At 25, she learned beauty opened better doors when paired with secrets. By 29, she had built a career advising ambitious men on image, while quietly selling them access to the women, donors, and scandals they feared. Adrian called her brilliant. She called him inevitable. Neither word was honest. Their affair began in a hotel bar after a zoning dinner. Adrian was frustrated because Lena had refused to introduce him to certain trust advisors. Veronica listened with her chin on her hand and told him the problem with principled women was that they needed a narrative before they surrendered. Adrian laughed. Then he hired her. Then he slept with her. Then he convinced himself the order mattered. Veronica did not love Adrian the way innocent people imagined mistresses loved married men. She loved the door he represented. Cross Meridian Group had money, influence, and a mother who believed morality was something less powerful families used because they lacked lawyers. If Adrian married Lena and gained influence over Hartwell assets, Veronica expected to become communications director for the new hotel project. More privately, she expected Adrian to leave Lena after securing the trust pathway. Adrian promised that often. He promised it in hotel rooms, in cars, in voice notes sent after midnight. He promised it while adjusting his cufflinks before donor lunches. He promised it the night before the engagement party when Veronica stood by the window of his penthouse wearing his shirt. "Tomorrow ends the performance," she said. Adrian kissed her shoulder. "Tomorrow secures it." She turned. "That is not what you promised. Do not start. You said you would break the engagement publicly if she refused to cooperate. We need the engagement to hold until the trust meeting." Veronica's eyes narrowed. "So I am supposed to watch you put a ring on her and smile?" He sighed, already tired of the emotion he had cultivated. "You are supposed to trust me." That was when Veronica understood. Adrian wanted both women in different costumes, Lena as access, Veronica as weapon, neither as equal. So she changed the script. She arrived at the engagement party uninvited, wearing black to a cream and gold event because she wanted to look like the truth, entering a lie. She waited until Adrian's toast began, until Lena stood beside him under the chandeliers, smiling gently at guests who had no idea the groom was a project. Then Veronica walked forward. The first slap was for the humiliation of being hidden. The second was for the fear that she had been used just as coldly as Lena. But by the time Lena ordered security to hold her in the private lounge, Veronica realized she had miscalculated. The woman she slapped did not fall apart. She gave instructions. That frightened Veronica more than screaming would have. In the lounge, 2 security guards stood by the door. Veronica paced in front of a velvet sofa, one hand pressed to her own palm, still feeling the sting of Lena's cheek against her skin. Adrian stormed in 5 minutes later. What the hell was that? Veronica turned on him. Do not speak to me like I am your employee. You are worse than that right now. You just blew up a 2-year strategy. The words landed. Not relationship. Strategy. Veronica's face went still. You were never going to leave her. This is not about that. It is to me. He looked at her with sudden disgust. That is why you will never understand real power. You keep making it personal. Veronica stared. For the first time, she saw herself through his eyes, not beloved, not partner, not even lover. External pressure contingency. She had not seen the slide, but she felt the label. Before she could answer, the ballroom speakers crackled. Lena's voice filled the room. Good evening. Since Miss Vale has raised questions about my engagement, my fiancé's honesty, and my role in Cross Meridian's future, I believe everyone deserves clarity. Adrian went white. Veronica turned toward the door. On the lounge wall, a small monitor showed the ballroom feed. Lena stood on stage alone, one cheek visibly red beneath the chandelier light. She held a remote. Behind her, the main screen turned on. Chapter 4. The first slide was not dramatic. That made it worse. It was a screenshot of the investor deck Adrian's assistant had sent by mistake. Revised post-engagement acquisition strategy. The guests murmured. Lena waited. She had learned from her father that silence could make people read faster. The next slide showed the East Market map. Then the phrase marriage alignment creates pathway to Hartwell influence. Then the slide naming her nonprofit as a reputation bridge. Adrian pushed through the side door. Turn it off. The microphone caught him. Everyone heard. Lena looked at him with the calm of a woman who had already buried her last excuse for him. No. Celeste Cross rose from the front table. This is confidential corporate material. Maya, standing near the sound booth, lifted her microphone. It was sent to Miss Hart by your company. Any claim of confidentiality can be discussed after the public accusations and assault that occurred in this room. Celeste's face tightened. Someone near the bar whispered, "Assault." The word changed the air. Veronica, watching from the lounge, stopped pacing. Lena continued. For those who do not know, Hartwell Urban Trust controls the protected community leases in East Market. Cross Meridian Group has attempted to acquire those properties for 18 months. I declined every proposal because the project would displace residents and small businesses my father spent his life protecting. Another slide appeared. Emails. Adrian to Celeste. Once married, Lena will soften. If not, Veronica can create pressure. Celeste to Adrian. Do not let sentiment interfere. Her charity depends on reputation. The ballroom erupted. Adrian lunged toward the stage. Security stopped him before he reached the steps. Lena, you are making a mistake, he said through clenched teeth. She looked at him. I made the mistake when I believed your ambition had a conscience. The next slide showed payments to Veil Narrative Strategies, Veronica's company, through a shell vendor named VNS Advisory. The invoices read donor engagement, reputation monitoring, and community sentiment modeling. Maya spoke now, voice crisp. Those payments are under review for fraud, commercial bribery, and conspiracy to defame. Miss Hart's legal team has already sent preservation notices to Cross Meridian Group, Veil Narrative Strategies, and all relevant vendors. Veronica gripped the edge of the lounge sofa. Fraud. Conspiracy. Those words were not romantic. They did not care who promised what in bed. Then Lena played the voice note. Adrian's voice filled the ballroom. If Lena resists after the wedding, we pressure the charity first. Nobody protects a saint once you make people doubt the halo. The room went dead silent. It was worse than shouting. It was evidence. Celeste sat down slowly. Adrian's face twisted. That was taken out of context. Lena tilted her head. Which context makes it better? No one laughed. That made the line sharper. The final slide was a document already filed that afternoon. Lena's formal withdrawal from all personal and charitable association with Cross Meridian Group, a complaint to the district attorney's office, and a civil notice seeking damages for attempted coercion, reputational harm, and conspiracy. Then Lena did something nobody expected. She looked toward the private lounge camera. Miss Vale, I assume you are watching. Veronica froze. You struck me twice in front of witnesses. I will decide later whether to pursue that separately. But if you want any chance of limiting your liability, you should ask yourself whether Adrian Cross protected you in the documents he created. Adrian turned sharply toward the lounge door. On the monitor, Veronica saw the fear cross his face before he could hide it. Not concern. Fear. For himself. That was when she understood why Lena had kept her in the building. Not to punish her immediately. To let her watch the man who used them both choose himself in real time. 30 minutes after the slaps, Veronica ran from the lounge and found Lena in the side corridor. Security blocked her. Veronica's face was stripped bare of arrogance. Please, she said, voice cracking, Do not release anything else with my name on it. I can explain. I will testify. I will give you everything. Lena looked at the hand that had struck her. Then at Veronica's face. You had 2 chances to keep your hands to yourself. Veronica started crying. He lied to me. He lied to me too, Lena said. I did not slap you. Chapter 5. The engagement party ended without dessert. That seemed to offend Celeste more than the evidence. Guests left in clusters, whispering into phones, forwarding clips, pretending they had always disliked Adrian. The string quartet packed up in silence. A waiter quietly offered Lena an ice pack wrapped in a linen napkin. She thanked him by name, which made him look as if he might cry. Maya guided Lena into the bridal suite. The room still smelled of lilies and hairspray. On a chair near the mirror, Lena's evening wrap lay folded beside a handwritten note Adrian had sent that morning. Tonight begins forever. Lena picked it up. For one moment, grief rose so suddenly she had to sit. Maya closed the door. Are you hurt? My face or my pride? Both. Yes. Maya sat beside her. Good. Pain means you are not performing anymore. Lena looked at the note in her hand. Adrian's handwriting was elegant, slanted, practiced. She remembered loving it. She remembered him leaving notes on her coffee cup when they first dated, little phrases that made ordinary mornings feel chosen. People thought betrayal erased the past. It did not. It poisoned the evidence. Every sweet memory had to be re-examined under ugly light. Was this real? Was that calculation? Did he love me then, or was I already a door he planned to unlock? Maya did not rush her. After a while, Lena folded the note once and placed it in her bag. For evidence? Maya asked. For reminder. Outside, Adrian was shouting. His voice carried through the corridor, stripped of ballroom polish. She cannot do this. My family will bury her. Maya looked at the ceiling. They always become poets when cornered. Lena stood. Let him shout. The police are here. That surprised her. Already? 2 slaps in a ballroom full of cameras, plus fraud allegations and a security complaint. Efficient night. The officers interviewed Lena in a private office. She described the assault calmly. She provided the full video, witness list, and medical photos of her cheek. The red mark had deepened into a visible handprint. One officer asked whether she wanted to press charges. Lena thought of Veronica's face in the corridor. The begging, the panic, the fact that she had been both weapon and accomplice. Yes, Lena said. Not because the slaps mattered more than the conspiracy. Because small violence excused becomes larger violence invited. Veronica was charged with assault and released later that night. Her mugshot leaked by morning. So did clips of the slaps, the slides, and the voice note. The internet named the scandal in under an hour. The Engagement Trap. Lena hated the title. It was catchy. It was also accurate enough to survive. By noon, 3 business outlets had connected Cross Meridian's failed East Market bid to the engagement scandal. Community groups issued statements supporting Lena. Tenants in East Market posted photos of their shops, apartments, and families with captions thanking Hartwell Urban Trust for refusing the hotel project. Adrian released a statement through Cross Meridian. Private relationship matters have been maliciously distorted by an emotional former partner. Former partner. Emotional. Lena read the sentence at her kitchen table with an ice pack against her cheek. Then she sent it to Maya. Maya replied, Perfect. Defamation claim just became prettier. Adrian's next move arrived before dinner. It came as a leak to a financial gossip account, wrapped in the lazy confidence of people who believed anonymous meant invisible. The post claimed Lena's charity had misused donor money to support East Market tenants and that Hartwell Urban Trust had hidden payments through community programs. It included 3 screenshots of spreadsheets, each one cropped just enough to look damning. The timing was not accidental. Adrian had called her emotional in the morning. By evening, he wanted her corrupt. Lena read the post once. Her cheek still hurt. Her head ached from too little sleep and too much attention. For one dangerous second, fatigue whispered that maybe silence would be easier. Then she saw the third screenshot. It showed a payment labeled Emergency Relocation Support, cut off before the recipient line. Lena knew that payment. It had helped a bakery worker and her son move after a gas leak in their apartment building 2 years earlier. The child had asthma. The landlord had delayed repairs. Hartwell's emergency fund had covered 3 weeks of safe housing and medical transport. Adrian had taken help and framed it as theft. That woke something in her grief. Not rage exactly. Protection. Maya called before Lena could dial. Do not respond emotionally. I want to respond accurately. That is why I like you. Can we release the audit? The charity's independent audit is clean, but donor privacy rules apply. We need consent from the families whose support records were cropped. Then I will ask. Maya paused. Lena, you do not have to do this tonight. Lena looked out her kitchen window. Across the street, a neighbor walked a dog under yellow light. Ordinary life continued with almost rude calm. Yes, she said. I do. The first person she called was Mrs. Alvarez from the bakery. Lena explained the leak, the cropped payment, the risk of public attention. She did not ask for a favor. She gave information and left the choice where it belonged. Mrs. Alvarez listened in silence. Then she said, That money kept my nephew breathing through winter. Use my name. The second call was to the clinic director. The third to a tenant association chair. The fourth to an after-school program coordinator. Each had received funds Adrian's leak tried to stain. By 10 that night, Lena had permission to release a limited explanation with names redacted where families requested privacy and named statements where they wanted to stand publicly. The charity posted a clean document before midnight. No drama. No pleading. Just the full audit, the emergency grant policy, and 3 statements from recipients explaining what the payments actually did. Mrs. Alvarez recorded a short video in front of the bakery, arms crossed over her apron. They called help corruption because they have never helped anyone without expecting ownership. The line spread faster than Adrian's leak. By morning, the gossip account deleted the post. Deleting made people ask why. Maya's investigator answered. The account had received the cropped screenshots from an email connected to a cross-Meridian consultant who had also billed for community sentiment disruption. Another phrase for the prosecutors. Another thread leading back to Adrian. Lena should have felt satisfied. Instead, she felt sick. It was one thing for Adrian to wound her. It was another to drag vulnerable people into the mud because their gratitude could be used as cover for a lie. That afternoon, while Lena stood in East Market apologizing to Mrs. Alvarez for the attention, a man in a brown wool coat approached with a folder under one arm. She had seen him before at community meetings, usually near the back, listening more than speaking. Miss Hart, he said. Daniel Reyes. I represent several East Market tenants. I know who you are. Good, then I can skip sounding impressive. Despite everything, she almost smiled. Daniel handed her the folder. These are sworn statements from tenants who received harassment calls after refusing private buyout offers from cross-Meridian intermediaries. Some of them were afraid to sign before last night. Mrs. Alvarez's video changed that. Lena opened the folder slowly. Names. Dates. Phone numbers. Descriptions of threats. One elderly tenant had been told her lease would vanish if she attended a Hartwell community meeting. A tailor had received fake inspection notices. A clinic nurse had been warned that her landlord planned to sell the building to people who did not like troublemakers. Lena's throat tightened. Why bring this to me? Because your trust can connect the property records. My clients can testify about the pressure. Together, the pattern becomes harder to dismiss. And your fee? Daniel looked almost offended. Already covered by the tenant defense fund your father created. Her father. The word landed softly. Daniel noticed, and unlike most people, did not rush to fill the space. After a moment he said, he expected this kind of thing eventually. My father? Developers using fear when money failed. He called it the second offer. Lena heard her father's voice in that phrase and had to look away. Daniel did not touch her arm. He did not tell her to be strong. He simply looked toward the bakery window where Mrs. Alvarez was arranging trays with unnecessary force. "People are less afraid today," he said. "Not fearless, less afraid. There is a difference." Lena closed the folder. "Thank you. Use it well. You do not want attention for bringing it?" Daniel's expression was dry. "I am a tenant lawyer with a window unit that screams when it rains. Attention is not my natural climate." This time Lena did smile. It was small. It hurt her bruised cheek. It was real. That was the first time Daniel Reyes helped her stand against Cross Meridian. It would not be the last. Chapter 6. Adrian Cross had been raised to believe consequences were negotiable. His father had built Cross Meridian Group from aggressive property deals and friendlier judges. His mother had perfected the art of making cruelty sound like taste. Adrian grew up in rooms where people spoke of communities as parcels, families as occupants, and women as alliances. He did not think of himself as evil. That was important. He thought of himself as practical. Practical men could do terrible things with clean nails. After the engagement party, Adrian expected the usual machinery to save him: lawyers, publicists, family donors, a sympathetic article about a young developer betrayed by a vengeful ex, a few anonymous sources saying Lena was fragile, possessive, not herself. The machinery started. Then jammed. The first problem was Veronica. She did not stay loyal. 2 days after the party, her attorney contacted Maya. Veronica wanted cooperation discussions. She had messages, voice notes, invoices, meeting summaries, and a draft crisis plan labeled Heart Contingency. Maya read the list aloud to Lena. Lena was standing in her father's old office at Hartwell headquarters, looking out over East Market. She could see the bakery with the green awning, the tailor shop, the clinic, the row of apartments with laundry fluttering from fire escapes. Her father had called that view a promise. "Do we trust her?" Lena asked. "No," Maya said. "We use documents. Trust is for houseplants and very few people." Veronica's cooperation opened the basement door. Inside were uglier things. Cross Meridian had hired online accounts to post rumors about East Market safety. They had paid a consultant to prepare a report exaggerating structural problems in protected buildings. They had discussed pressuring 2 elderly leaseholders through nuisance code complaints. Adrian had approved a memo suggesting that Lena's charity could be framed as financially mismanaged if she resisted. Celeste's comments were everywhere. Make the girl choose between reputation and obedience. The girl. Lena read that line 3 times. She was 31 years old, trust chair, nonprofit founder, property steward, and the woman Celeste had asked to call her mother after the wedding. The girl. Old money loved making adult women small before robbing them. The second problem for Adrian was the board. Cross Meridian had outside investors who disliked scandal mostly because scandal affected financing. The leaked slides made the East Market project radioactive. The community backlash made zoning approval impossible. The assault made the story too visual to bury. At an emergency board meeting, Adrian tried to blame Veronica. "She acted alone," he said. His voice was steady. He had slept badly but dressed well. That was his talent. He could look composed beside wreckage if someone else was bleeding more visibly. Celeste sat beside him, pale with fury. Then the board council played Veronica's first submitted recording. Adrian's voice. "If you need to confront her publicly, do it before the trust vote. A scene gives us leverage." The room shifted. Not loudly. Boardrooms rarely did things loudly. Money disliked visible panic. One investor removed his glasses. "You encouraged the assault?" Adrian's face hardened. "No, I discussed reputational pressure. Veronica misinterpreted." The council played the next recording. Veronica. "What if she cries?" Adrian. "Better. Fragile looks unstable on camera." Even Celeste looked at him then. Not with horror. With annoyance that he had been recorded. The board suspended Adrian pending investigation. Celeste resigned from the Community Advisory Council before she could be removed. Cross Meridian announced an independent review, which nobody believed was independent until regulators requested the same documents. The third problem was Lena. She did not disappear. She held a press conference in East Market, not in a hotel, not behind a legal table, but on the sidewalk between the bakery and the clinic. She wore a simple black coat. The mark on her cheek had faded to yellow at the edge, still visible enough that cameras loved it. She did not hide it with makeup. "This district is not a dowry," she said. The line ran across every headline by evening. She continued, "The attempt to use marriage, public humiliation, and false narratives to gain influence over protected community property failed. Hartwell Urban Trust will not sell East Market to Cross Meridian Group. We are expanding tenant protections, commissioning independent repairs, and referring all evidence of conspiracy, fraud, and harassment to authorities." A reporter asked if she felt personally betrayed. Lena looked past the cameras at the people standing outside their shops. "Yes," she said, "but betrayal is personal. What they tried to do here was public, so the answer must be public too." Chapter 7. For 1 week, Lena became a symbol. She hated almost every minute of it. People online called her queen, saint, ice princess, girl boss, victim, heroine, spoiled heiress, and liar. Strangers argued about whether she should have slapped Veronica back. Men with profile pictures taken in cars explained that Adrian was smart to seek strategic marriage. Women sent private messages saying they had once been humiliated publicly and wished they had stood as still as Lena. That last group kept her from throwing the phone into the river. At night, when the noise became too much, Lena returned to her father's office. She sat in his old chair and looked through his notebooks. He had written in blue ink, always in complete sentences, as if even private thoughts deserved architecture. One note stopped her. "Power is not the ability to crush. That is only force. Power is the ability to protect what would be crushed without you." Lena read it until the words blurred. She missed him with a child's sudden helplessness. Then she straightened the notebook on the desk because grief did not excuse disorder in her father's office. Maya found her there one evening. "Veronica wants to meet." Lena looked up. "Why?" "She says she wants to apologize. She wants to reduce charges." "Also, yes." The meeting took place in Maya's conference room with attorneys present. Veronica arrived without makeup, wearing a gray coat and flat shoes. The absence of glamour did not make her innocent. It made her harder to dismiss. She sat across from Lena and folded her hands. "I am sorry I hit you." Lena watched her. "That is a sentence. Is it the truth?" Veronica swallowed. "Yes." "Try again without thinking about sentencing." Veronica's eyes filled, but Lena had learned tears were not evidence. "I hit you because I wanted to hurt you in front of everyone," Veronica said. "I wanted to make you feel small because I felt small. Adrian promised me things, and I believed humiliating you would prove I mattered." The room was quiet. That was closer to truth. Lena leaned back. "Did you know about the plan to smear my charity?" "Yes." "Did you help draft it?" "Yes." "Did you know the East Market project would displace tenants?" Veronica looked down. "I did not care enough to ask." Maya's pen stopped. Lena felt that answer settle in her chest. It was ugly. It was useful. "Why cooperate now?" Lena asked. Veronica laughed once, without humor. "Because Adrian kept a file blaming everything on me. Because Celeste called me trash with a contract. Because I realized I had become the disposable part of a plan I helped build." "So this is self-preservation?" "Yes." Lena appreciated the honesty more than the apology. "Then preserve yourself fully," she said. "Tell the prosecutors everything. Return every dollar from the false contracts. Publicly correct every lie you helped prepare. And do not ever confuse being used with being innocent." Veronica flinched. "Will you forgive me?" Lena's cheek had almost healed, but the memory of the slaps lived under the skin. "No." Veronica's face crumpled. Lena continued, not cruelly, only clearly. "Not today. Maybe not ever. Your apology can be real without becoming my burden." After Veronica left, Maya said, "That was cleaner than I expected." She told the truth when it became useful. Still truth. Still useful. They both sat with that. Justice, Lena was learning, did not always arrive through pure people. Sometimes it arrived through frightened people who finally understood the fire had reached their own door. Chapter 8. Adrian tried romance next. That insulted Lena more than the legal threats. At 7 one morning, a courier delivered white roses to Hartwell headquarters. There were 100 of them, arranged in a glass vase so heavy 2 receptionists had to lift it. The card was handwritten. I lost myself. I never stopped loving you. Lena stared at the flowers. Then she asked the receptionist to send them to the hospital lobby with no card. Maya approved. Good, let innocent people enjoy the manipulation. At noon, Adrian appeared outside Hartwell headquarters. He looked thinner, his jaw was unshaven. The old perfection had cracked just enough to make cameras curious. He knew it. Of course he did. Adrian never wasted a look. Reporters gathered before security could move him along. Lena, he called when she stepped out with Maya. She stopped because running would give him a scene. He held up both hands. I only want to talk. Through counsel. I loved you. The cameras leaned closer. There it was. The public apology shaped like a trap. If she ignored him, she looked cold. If she answered angrily, unstable. If she cried, fragile. If she softened, he gained footage. Lena understood the stage because he had built it too many times. Adrian, she said calmly, you discussed using my charity, my reputation, and another woman's public violence as leverage. Love is not the issue before the court. His face changed. You are enjoying this. No. You want to ruin me. No, I want you unable to continue. That answer did not give cameras tears. It gave them a headline. Security escorted him away as he shouted that she was making a mistake. Later that day, his attorney filed an emergency motion claiming Lena was orchestrating a media campaign to destroy his career and influence regulatory review. Maya's response was brief and devastating. She attached the video of Adrian outside Hartwell headquarters, the rose card, and 3 messages he had sent Lena from blocked numbers. I can still make this easy. You do not understand what my family can do. If I go down, I will take your father's name with me. The judge issued a no-contact order. Adrian violated it in under 24 hours. Not directly. Through Celeste. Celeste requested a private meeting with Lena at an old members club where women like Celeste believed consequences could be smothered in carpet and tea. Lena refused. Celeste came to East Market instead. She arrived in a black town car and stepped onto the sidewalk with visible discomfort, as if ordinary pavement might stain her shoes. Shop owners watched from doorways. Lena met her outside the bakery. Mrs. Cross. Lena, surely we can speak like family. We are not family. Celeste's smile sharpened. You were eager enough last week. Last week I was uninformed. The bakery owner, Mrs. Alvarez, made a small sound that could have been a cough or applause. Celeste lowered her voice. Do you know how much damage you are doing? Yes. To yourself, too. Less than marrying your son would have done. Celeste's eyes flashed. You think these people love you? They love your leases. They love your protection. The moment you cannot provide it, they will turn. Lena looked at the street her father had protected, at the faces watching without pretending not to. Maybe, she said, but they did not ask me to become smaller so they could profit. Celeste stepped closer. Take the settlement. Withdraw the criminal complaint. Let Adrian resign quietly. Veronica will take the blame. There it was. The family strategy in one sentence. Sacrifice the mistress. Preserve the son. Buy the woman. Lena's voice remained even. No. Everyone has a price. You cannot afford mine. Celeste laughed. Do not be vulgar. I am not talking about money. A reporter across the street caught the exchange on video. By evening, Celeste's settlement attempt was public. The phrase, you cannot afford mine, spread almost as fast as this district is not a dowry. The cross-family machinery had not merely jammed now. It was smoking. Chapter 9. The criminal inquiry widened in the third week. Investigators found payments from Cross Meridian to 2 shell companies connected to online smear campaigns. They found messages instructing consultants to seed rumors about unsafe buildings in East Market before formal inspection. They found an email from Celeste approving strategic tenant discomfort to increase sale pressure. Strategic tenant discomfort meant late-night noise complaints filed by fake neighbors. It meant anonymous code reports. It meant pushing elderly renters to believe their homes were about to be condemned. It meant cruelty with a memo heading. Lena read the evidence in Maya's office and felt anger sharpen into something colder. The affair had humiliated her. This enraged her. Adrian had not only betrayed a woman, he had treated an entire district as collateral in his performance of ambition. Hartwell Urban Trust filed suit against Cross Meridian Group, Adrian Cross, Celeste Cross, Veronica Vale, and related vendors. The complaint alleged conspiracy, fraud, attempted tortious interference, defamation, harassment of protected tenants, and assault-related damages. The filing was public. Names. Dates. Payments. Quotes. The story became too documented to dismiss as heartbreak. Cross Meridian's investors panicked. 2 lenders withdrew from the hotel project. A city council member who had privately supported the development announced an ethics review. The Planning Commission postponed all Cross Meridian applications pending investigation. Adrian was arrested 6 days later for conspiracy to commit fraud, witness intimidation, and solicitation related to the staged public confrontation. The assault charge remained Veronica's, but the recordings showed Adrian had encouraged a public scene for leverage. Celeste was not arrested that day. She was worse than arrested in her world. She was subpoenaed at a charity luncheon. The video showed her receiving the papers between the soup course and the speech about civic leadership. Her face did not move, but her hand trembled when she set down her spoon. People noticed. People always noticed when a woman who fed on control lost appetite in public. Veronica pleaded guilty to assault and conspiracy-related charges in exchange for cooperation. She was ordered to pay restitution, complete community service in programs serving the district she helped target, surrender her false contract fees, and testify against Adrian and Cross Meridian. Her public apology was part of the agreement. It was broadcast from the courthouse steps. Veronica stood without red lipstick, voice shaking. I struck Lena Hart and participated in a plan to pressure her, damage her reputation, and help Cross Meridian gain influence over East Market. I lied to myself that I was acting out of love. I was acting out of ambition and resentment. I apologized to Miss Hart, to East Market residents, and to everyone harmed by my conduct. Reporters shouted questions. Did Adrian Cross tell you to confront her? Veronica swallowed. Yes. Did he promise to leave Lena? Her face tightened. Yes. Did that excuse what you did? For the first time, she did not choose the convenient answer. No. Lena watched the statement from her office. Maya stood beside her. How do you feel? Lena thought about it. Not satisfied. Good. Good? Satisfaction fades. Documentation lasts. Lena looked at the frozen image of Veronica on the screen. She did not forgive her. But she did believe that public truth had power. Not because it healed everything. Because it made the next lie harder to sell. Adrian's statement came later through counsel, denying wrongdoing and claiming he was the victim of a vindictive ex-fiancé and an unstable former consultant. That lasted 12 hours. Then Veronica's recordings were entered into the public docket. Adrian's voice became the response to Adrian's denial. If she cries, better. Nobody protects a saint once you make people doubt the halo. The internet did not need legal training to understand that. Still, Adrian had one last weapon. Not evidence. Sentiment. 3 days before the preliminary hearing, he released a video from his apartment. He looked exhausted, unshaven, and carefully human. Behind him, a framed photo from the engagement shoot sat on a shelf, angled so the camera could see Lena laughing beside him. He spoke about pressure. He spoke about family expectations. He spoke about how ambition could distort judgment. Then he lowered his voice. I loved Lena. I still do. I made mistakes, but I never wanted to hurt her. I hope she remembers that destroying someone is not justice. The video was better than his statement. That made it more dangerous. People liked remorse when it arrived with good lighting. They liked a handsome man admitting to mistakes in a soft sweater. Mistakes were flexible. Mistakes could include missed birthdays, bad investments, and elaborate conspiracies if the speaker looked sad enough. For half a day, the comments shifted. Maybe he is not a monster. Everyone makes mistakes. She already won, why keep going? Lena watched the video once in Maya's office. Daniel was there for a joint tenant meeting, sitting at the far end of the table, with his hands folded around a paper coffee cup. He did not speak while the video played. Lena appreciated that. There were enough voices in the world telling women how to interpret a man's apology. When the video ended, Maya shut the laptop. We do not respond to theater. Daniel looked up. Unless theater is hiding a prop. Maya turned to him. Meaning? That photo behind him, the engagement shoot, was that taken at the East Market rooftop? Lena frowned. Yes. Adrian insisted on it. He said it would be meaningful to include my father's district. Daniel's expression sharpened. That rooftop belongs to the clinic building. The access door has a security camera. If his team used the building for a private shoot, someone arranged access. We had complaints that week about unauthorized surveyors. Maya sat straighter. Surveyors? Daniel nodded. Residents saw men measuring the roof and stairwell. They were told Hartwell had approved a safety review. Lena felt cold spread through her. I never approved that. Within an hour, they had the building manager on the phone. Within 3, they had security footage. The engagement shoot had not been only an engagement shoot. Adrian's photographer, 2 cross-meridian consultants, and a structural engineer had entered the building with a temporary access code supplied by someone using Celeste's assistant's email. While Lena posed on the rooftop with Adrian, the consultants photographed ventilation, stair access, electrical panels, and tenant entry points. They had used romance as cover for reconnaissance. Lena stared at the footage until Maya gently closed the laptop. For some reason, this hurt differently. Not more than the slaps. Not more than the affair. But differently. She remembered that afternoon clearly. Adrian had adjusted her scarf against the wind. He had told her the light made her look like a painting. She had leaned into him because she thought the district below them represented shared values. All the while, his people were measuring the building. Daniel's voice was quiet. I am sorry. Lena swallowed. Do not be. You found it. Both can be true. The new evidence changed the hearing. Maya submitted the footage, access logs, and resident statements. The prosecutor added the rooftop incident to the pattern of deception and tenant targeting. The judge was not amused by Adrian's soft video after seeing him use an engagement shoot to gain unauthorized building intelligence. At the hearing, Adrian's attorney tried to argue that the building review was preliminary due diligence. Daniel testified briefly for the tenants. He did not dramatize. He did not need to. No tenant was notified, no trust approval existed. Residents were told the access was authorized by Hartwell. That was false. Several residents later received pressure calls referencing repair risks in the same building. The prosecutor asked, in your opinion, was the engagement shoot used to obtain access? Adrian's attorney objected. The judge allowed a narrower question. Daniel answered, the timing and footage show the romantic event and the unauthorized inspection occurred together. The residents experienced it as deception. That was enough. When Adrian left the courthouse that day, reporters shouted about the apology video. Did you use your engagement photos to inspect tenant property? He did not answer. The soft sweater video aged badly by sunset. People reposted it with the rooftop footage beside it, Lena laughing in a cream coat while, in the background, a consultant measured an access door. Adrian smiling into the camera while his engineer photographed service panels. The caption that spread fastest was simple. He turned romance into a site visit. Lena hated how funny it sounded. She also knew it would stick. Adrian had tried to make himself human. The evidence made him smaller. Chapter 10. Lena met Daniel Reyes because of a broken bakery window. Not romantically. Not at first. Daniel was a tenant rights attorney representing several East Market residents in a separate complaint against Cross Meridian's harassment vendors. He had grown up above the bakery and now worked from a small office 2 blocks away where the coffee was terrible and the files were immaculate. Lena had known of him for years. Her father had liked him. That alone made her cautious because grief sometimes tried to turn recommendations into destiny. Daniel arrived at the bakery the morning after someone threw a brick through the front window with a note taped to it. Sell before worse happens. The police took the note. The bakery owner shook with rage. Lena arrived 15 minutes later wearing a coat over pajamas because Mrs. Alvarez had called her directly. Daniel was already there, crouched beside the broken glass, taking photos from angles that showed both the damage and the security camera across the street. He looked up. Miss Hart. Mr. Reyes. Careful, glass near your left shoe. She looked down. He did not reach for her arm, he simply warned her. That small restraint made her notice him. Daniel was not polished like Adrian. He wore a brown wool coat, scuffed shoes, and tired eyes behind square glasses. His hair was too long at the temples. He had the steady face of a man who had spent years listening to frightened people without making their fear about himself. Mrs. Alvarez pointed at the brick. This is because of those hotel people. Daniel stood. Probably, but probably is not enough. Lena nodded. What do you need? Footage. A copy of any recent threats. Permission from the trust to coordinate tenant statements. And breakfast, because Mrs. Alvarez will insist and she gets frightening when refused. The bakery owner folded her arms. Smartman. Lena almost smiled. Daniel did not flirt. He did not mention the engagement scandal. He did not look at her cheek, though the last yellow shadow of the bruise remained. He treated her as a colleague in an emergency, not a wounded woman in need of rescue. That was why she trusted him enough to meet again. Over the next month, Daniel became part of the legal effort around East Market. He represented tenants in harassment claims, while Maya handled Hartwell's civil action. He and Lena sat in long meetings with residents, inspectors, police, and city officials. He translated legal threats into plain language. He noticed when Lena stopped eating during a 6-hour session and placed a sandwich beside her without comment. One night, after a community meeting ended late, Lena found him outside the clinic, stacking folding chairs with the volunteer teenagers. You do not have to do that, she said. I know. You are an attorney. I contain multitudes. The smallest laugh escaped her. He looked pleased but did not pounce on it. They walked back toward the bakery under streetlights. East Market smelled of rain, bread, and old brick. Your father used to walk this route every Thursday, Daniel said. Lena looked at him. You knew him well? He helped my mother keep our apartment when the building owner tried to push us out. I was 16. I thought he was terrifying. He was. Then he bought me a sandwich and asked why my grades in geometry were mediocre. This time Lena laughed properly. That sounds like him. Daniel's expression softened. He was proud of you. The sentence hit without warning. Lena stopped walking. Daniel stopped too, giving her space. Sorry, he said. Too much? No. Her voice was thinner than she wanted. Just unexpected. He nodded. Unexpected things should still knock. She looked at him then, under the streetlight, and saw not a replacement for what she had lost, not a reward for suffering, not a hero arriving after betrayal, but a man who understood doors. That mattered. Chapter 11. The civil trial did not happen. Cross Meridian settled after the judge denied their motion to seal key evidence. They wanted privacy. Lena refused. The final agreement required a public admission of misconduct by Cross Meridian Group, a permanent withdrawal from the East Market project, a major restitution fund for affected tenants, payment for independent repairs, damages to Hartwell Urban Trust and Lena's charity, and cooperation with ongoing criminal cases against Adrian, Celeste, and outside vendors. Celeste fought the admission until the last hour. Then the lenders threatened default. Morality had failed to move her. Debt succeeded. The public statement was read by Cross Meridian's interim CEO, not Celeste. That was another defeat. Powerful families hated when hired adults had to clean the stage. Cross Meridian Group acknowledges that representatives of the company participated in improper efforts to influence Hartwell Urban Trust, damage the reputation of Lena Hart and associated charitable entities, and pressure East Market tenants. The company apologizes and accepts the remedies ordered. It was dry. It was also permanent. Adrian pleaded guilty months later to reduced criminal charges, including conspiracy and witness intimidation. He avoided the longest possible sentence because of the corporate cooperation, but he did not avoid punishment. He received prison time, probation, fines, and a ban from serving as an officer or director in real estate development entities for years. His name became radioactive in every room that once praised him. Veronica completed her sentence under public supervision. Her consulting company dissolved. The court ordered her to pay restitution from the false contract fees. Her apology remained online, attached forever to the footage of her slapping Lena. She applied later for ordinary communications work far from development politics, and every interview began with the same question she could not escape. Celeste was charged separately in the regulatory case. She resigned from every charity board before they removed her. Her social circle, trained to forgive almost anything except embarrassment, quietly stopped inviting her to chair things. That was not prison. For Celeste, it was exile. Lena did not attend Adrian's sentencing for spectacle. She attended because the record mattered. He stood before the judge in a dark suit, thinner, paler, less beautiful under fluorescent light. When he apologized, he looked at the judge, not at Lena. That was fitting. His regret had always searched for the most useful audience. When Lena gave her statement, she kept it brief. Adrian Cross tried to turn marriage into access, infidelity into leverage, and public humiliation into a tool. He did not only betray me, he participated in a plan to harm a community and make that harm look like development. I asked the court to name that clearly. The judge did. Afterward, outside the courthouse, reporters asked whether she felt vindicated. Lena thought of her burning cheek, her father's notebook, Veronica crying in a conference room, Mrs. Alvarez standing by a broken window, Daniel warning her about glass. I feel responsible, she said. For what? For what happens after winning. That answer did not trend as hard as the slap video. Lena preferred it. Chapter 12. East Market changed, but not the way Cross Meridian wanted. The restitution fund repaired roofs, replaced wiring, restored storefronts, and created a tenant legal defense reserve. Hartwell Urban Trust extended community leases and added protections against harassment by speculative buyers. Lena's charity launched a small business grant program named after her father. The bakery window was replaced with stronger glass. Mrs. Alvarez hated that it looked too new for exactly 3 days, then admitted it kept the warmth better. Daniel remained nearby. Not constantly. That was part of why Lena liked him. He had his own work, his own stubborn clients, his own elderly mother who called during meetings and refused to understand voicemail. He did not orbit Lena as if romance meant availability without edges. He appeared when he said he would. He listened without turning her story into his proof of goodness. He challenged her when she confused control with safety. That happened often at first. One evening, after a tenant celebration, Lena stayed behind rearranging chairs no one needed rearranged. Daniel watched for a while before speaking. Are the chairs guilty? She looked down at the chair in her hands. No. Then maybe let them rest. She set it down. I do not know how to stop managing the aftermath. Maybe you do not stop. Maybe you learn which parts are yours. She leaned against the wall, suddenly tired. Adrian used the fact that I cared. Yes. Veronica used the fact that I stayed calm. Yes. Celeste used the fact that I was raised to be polite. Yes. So what am I supposed to do with those parts of myself now? Daniel considered the question seriously. Keep them, guard them better. Lena looked at him. That simple? No, but simple and easy are different things. The room was quiet around them. Outside, East Market glowed with early evening light. People were laughing near the bakery. Someone had hung paper lanterns across the narrow street. A child ran past the window carrying a balloon shaped like a star. Lena felt something loosen. Not healed. Healing was not a switch, but loosened. Months later, when Daniel asked her to dinner without any legal excuse attached, he did it badly. He arrived at Hartwell with a folder, discussed tenant insurance for 20 minutes, then cleared his throat and said, "I have no professional reason to ask whether you like Japanese food." Lena stared at him. Maya, who happened to be passing the open door, stopped dead. Daniel looked pained. That was worse aloud. Lena laughed so hard she had to sit down. Maya said, "I am leaving before this becomes discoverable," and left. Lena said yes. Dinner was quiet, warm, and free of strategy. Daniel did not ask for her trust as if it were a prize he deserved for patience. He earned small pieces of it by respecting how slowly it returned. Their relationship grew like that. Small pieces. A walk after a hearing. Coffee after a community meeting. His mother sending soup because she decided Lena looked thin on television. Lena bringing Daniel a repaired copy of the geometry textbook her father had once used to torment him. A first kiss outside the bakery, gentle and awkward because both of them cared too much to pretend ease. Lena did not become someone untouched by betrayal. She became someone no longer governed by it. On the first anniversary of the engagement party, East Market held a street festival, not because of the scandal. Because the repair work had finished, the clinic had expanded, and Mrs. Alvarez had won an argument about closing the street for music. Lena stood beneath paper lanterns, watching children draw chalk flowers on the pavement. Daniel stood beside her with 2 cups of lemonade. "A year," he said. "Do not make a speech." "I would never." "You absolutely would." He smiled. "Only a short one." She took the lemonade. For a moment, she touched her cheek. There was no mark now, no visible proof of the slap, but she remembered the sting, the silence, the way every phone rose. She also remembered what came after. The screen turning on. The truth becoming public. The begging. The exposure. The repairs. The laughter returning to the street. People often asked whether she wished the engagement party had never happened. The honest answer was complicated. She wished Adrian had been who he pretended to be. She wished Veronica had never raised her hand. She wished her father had lived long enough to glare Adrian out of the city before any of this began. But she did not wish for the old blindness back. Some humiliations were not endings. They were alarms. The first slap had silenced the music. The second had raised the cameras. 30 minutes later, Veronica begged for silence. But silence was exactly what Lena refused to give. That refusal saved more than her pride. It saved a district, a legacy, and the part of herself that had mistaken composure for permission to endure anything quietly. In the end, Lena did not win because she was untouched. She won because she was struck, watched, lied about, threatened, and still chose truth with witnesses. That was not revenge. That was restoration. And restoration, her father would have said, was harder than demolition. It was also worth more. Subscribe for more stories about quiet women, hidden strength, and the moment betrayal finally meets consequences.